everyone, I'm Haz Dulull, and I'm super excited to be speaking at this year's Feature Film Summit. In fact, this is my 4th summit. I actually originally started speaking from 2019, and so much has happened since 2019 and 2020 and 2021 because today we have finished our animated feature film and we're doing so much other stuff, which I'm going to share with you today. A little bit about our studio. We set it up October 2020. We built a mini studio with generalists and storytellers. So everyone on our team are very much multidisciplinary, including myself. I wear so many hats, and so does everyone else on the team, which I think is very important for the future of studios that want to stay nimble, and we just kind of ramp up and down when we need to. Our studio is built from the ground up with real-time technology. What that means is, unlike other studios where they're trying to adopt real-time technology into their current pipeline, we actually built the company from the ground up with Unreal Engine at the forefront, at the core, and everything else feeds into Unreal. So we're quite software agnostic with artists that we hire. If we hire a character artist and they use Blender, that's fine. They use C4D, that's fine, or whatever tool they want to use. As long as you can export it in FBX or Alembic or can bridge it directly into Unreal and we can work with it in Unreal, that's great. And once it stays in Unreal, we then take it further to finishing stage, whether exported as EXRs or into a game. Okay, so we started early pre-production on our movie in November 2020 after having so much fun. So those of you who heard me speak last year at the summit, I talked about some of the short films that we'd done, and in 2020, when I spoke at the summit again, I talked about Battlesuit and Mutant Year Zero and a bunch of other shorts that we had done in Unreal. So we decided to make a feature film all in Unreal. Completely stylized, CG anime, final pixels, meaning no compositing or visual effects or layers. This is like directly out of the engine. And delivers 4K HDR. And we completed it, and we're currently doing festivals. We just did Spark Animation Festival in Vancouver, which was awesome. And we are showing this film at the British Urban Film Festival, which is a BAFTA qualifying festival. And we're in distribution phase. Let's just show you what this movie is.
Going home, Max. You and me.
You and me.
Keep your fire away from the asset.
Run!
He's dying, Leon. He's been leaping from reality to reality, trying to find the one in which you do save him. And he won't stop, even though it's killing him. He won't stop till he finds the reality in which you succeed.
It's not gonna be this one, all right?
The next time he riffs, he will die. Max. What did Leon promise?
To never let anything happen to me.
Cool. Okay, so you can watch the entire... it's a lot of work. We just realized when I watched that trailer, we did so much work. You can watch that entire trailer again on my website, on the Hazmation website, if you want to watch it in full screen or something. Okay, let's talk about making this movie a little bit. So I'm going to touch on topics about filmmaking and real-time animation as a director. So being a director in Unreal Engine, what that's like. I get a lot of my filmmaking friends, my director friends saying, what's it like directing in Unreal? Like, is it like directing CG animation? Kinda, but it's also a mix of both. You still get some of the best parts of live action directing, which I'm going to break down. But one thing it is not, in terms of traditional directing, is you're not pointing at screens over the artist's shoulders. You have a lot of control, physical control at your fingertips as a director in order to achieve what you have in your mind or experiment. Here's an example of me experimenting with cinematography, trying to find a camera language. Now, I could always bring a cinematographer and he or she could be involved in this. But the point is, I can experiment and then pitch some cinematographer ideas to the team to show them what I'm after, as opposed to writing a really long description. And it's just super fun. This is what an example looks like. My everyday, this is an everyday scenario where I'm working on a shot as a director. I would load up the Unreal Engine scenes, the assets already being placed by my artist, and I'll go in and start moving the camera and recording the camera moves. This scene originally was designed to be edited in the script. It had multiple angles and shots. I decided, just by playing in Unreal, I realized, this could be cool if we just stayed with the character, kind of like a Children of Men single one shot. And again, I would never have figured out this camera language or this way of visualizing the scene as a storyteller if I wasn't hands-on in Unreal. So this is me using Sequencer to do this. But then again, to do that, in order for me to have that control, there's certain things you have to do, and that is, you got to invest time to build tools and rigs to allow directors like myself to be hands-on. But it isn't just directors, it's also the shot creators, the animators, who want to be able to create shots very fast, try ideas out, and fail fast without having to go through the technical bottlenecks you would get in traditional CG. So right here, our head of CG, this wonderful, talented, amazing collaborator of mine, Andrea Tetecci, he built a rig system that allowed me to animate the hands of the character while animating the car and the wheels, all using rigs, all controlled inside of Sequencer, which was amazing. This was done in 426.2, guys. This isn't done in Unreal Engine 5, where we now have control rig. Just an FYI. So we had to build a lot of things. We also end up building tools that allowed us to attach items and weapons to the hands very quickly, just by selecting the weapon, selecting which hand it is, and just pressing attach. Now, it's not really a big thing, you're probably thinking, but when you've got like hundreds of shots to do and you want to make tweaks on the fly, tools like that really help speed up the process. Other things like hair. We didn't want to do hair simulation because it's very expensive, like money-wise and processing-wise, and also on our team we don't really have a grooming artist or simulation artist. So what we did was we animated a bunch of hair animation, geometry deformation, not fur or anything like that, in Maya, and then we export that as FBX. And then we treat those FBX as like animation data, which we can then motion mix between a calm hair to a really windy hair to just a little bump when the person's walking. We're able to control that. Because here's the thing, guys. We're using a real-time game engine, and using physics for something like this, although it's cool in a game, when you're doing a linear project like a movie and you want to render it out of Sequencer, physics can become unpredictable. Which is not what you want when you're making a linear animated film. In a video game, that's okay, but in a linear film, you can't do that. So we avoided physics massively. We did look at it, but we avoided it. We had control on the style of animation, and we created a library of different hair animation as FBX, and just drag and drop those when we needed for the shot. An example of how we do dailies at Haz Animation is really interesting, because traditionally in dailies in visual effects, you really have to play loads of videos on the timeline, you have a coordinator, make notes, and then by the time you finish your dailies, the notes get distributed on something like Shotgun or F-Track or whatever system you're using, and then the artists start working on it. We don't do that here. We take real time really seriously. In fact, we take it to another level that we put it in our dailies session. So this is a Zoom session here where each artist, one at a time, would share their screen with Unreal Engine and just play the scene. And then I can say, hey, stop there. Can you just adjust the camera here? Or could you just move the tree over there? Or can we do something a little bit different? And they can try that on the session. And let's just say by the time we finish dailies, 90% of the tweaks or changes or updates I wanted were addressed already. Now, of course, things like complete relighting or complete reshading or reanimation, we don't do that in real time. On the Zoom session, the artists go away and take their time to do it. But we could, but it would just take a while. So we really, even our production and our productivity changed and sped up in a really collaborative way because of the power of Unreal Engine and real time. But of course, directing actors and performances still require a live action approach. It's great that we have all this real time tech at my fingertips, but you still need good actors, voice actors, and motion capture artists to really bring your characters to life. So here's an example of me working with my good friend Ace Royal, amazing motion capture artist and performer, and I'm able to like direct him while seeing his performance on the actual skeleton. So if there's any intersection and stuff, we can call it out right away. But what's great is I'm able to see this play in a 3D environment in real time of his performance and then give him notes. Here's me clearly watch way too much John Wick. But here's me like giving some direction what the action I'm after, and then Ace will then come in and just like bring so much more to the table. Like he actually makes it look way cooler than me. But it's really cool to be able to do that, because that's probably the closest link I have to directing live action. That when I did live action, I love working with actors, and I missed that because of the pandemic. But I got that back, by directing mocap, which was awesome. Directing mocap remotely also, this is Gabriella, who's based in Florida, amazing collaborator. And this is what the screen looks like when I'm directing her via Zoom. We have Unreal Engine, we have XN's Live Link, all live linked together, and we're able to see that all in real time. I can just direct, and it's so much fun, so much fun. Here's what my screen looks like. I have my shot breakdown, I have my shot list, I have my layout, exactly what you would do when you're directing live action TV and feature films. So it's no different there. So there's still the same prep, except the collaboration is a little bit different because you're doing it via Zoom and you're watching a virtual skeleton move. But it's just as much fun. But what if the actors are not experienced in motion capture? What if the actors don't like the idea of doing mocap, or they just are much more traditional? That's okay, because we end up working with this tool called Move AI. Now, this is a very early version of Move AI. Compared to what it is today, it's way cooler. But what was very cool at the time was the fact that we got 6 GoPro cameras in this. It's actually a color grading suite we used. And Nolene, who's in the middle there with the white top, she is a traditional actress. She doesn't do motion capture. She very much is live action and theater, and we treated that entire thing like it was a theater stage. And the performances were so amazing, because right now she's not thinking about where I should be standing or the suit or getting distracted by that, because she's not experienced of it. She's able just to do her performance. And then what we do is we take the 6 GoPro footage, feed that into the machine learning system on Move AI. It would then generate a skeleton. Let's see if I can find that here. Here you go. It generates a skeleton with the mocap. And then, there you go, so you can see one-on-one, the mocap and the live action. Frigging close, man. Really close. And then we're able to bring it into Unreal. This is raw, by the way, brought into Unreal. There's no cleanup done or anything. But very quickly, I'm able to, capture more than one person. I don't need 2 suits to do this mocap. Okay, facial performance. Very important. 2 things scared the hell out of me getting into animation. One was facial animation, because it had to look good and convincing to get the performance across and the emotion, and of course lip syncing. What's really cool is we use this software called iClone, because most of us are not animators. We know how to animate, but we're not 20 years Pixar level animators, right? So we need a lot of help technologically from a tool set to allow us to get the results we wanted. And right here, I'm using iClone, I'm using the expression editor. And I'm able to switch between various expressions by moving my mouse around, and I have control on the IK of the eyes, and it's just amazing. I'm able to within 30 seconds get all the expressions I want, and be able to pitch that to my artist and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And then the artist will go away and reanimate it properly in iClone, or they'll say, hey, that actually works what you're showing us. Let's just use that. So it's very cool to be able to have that real-time animation, explore, and have the luxury to experiment and find that voice. Also, I get to direct. Oops. Also got to direct someone like Alex Kong, who was based in Vancouver, now in Mexico. And this is him using iClone, using the live link, using the iPhone, but then I'm able to give him direction. And by the time we finish the session, he then goes and exports the FBX, bring it to Unreal, and boom, we've got it. Here's some real-time animation here again. And the reason I'm showing this to you is not because I'm trying to sell you iClone or anything like that. No, it's basically I'm just really impressed the fact that these tools exist that allows me as a filmmaker to really not have the problem I would usually be associated with animation, which is technical bottlenecks or the long processor required or the limited time, depending on the budget and resource you have, to how far you can experiment. I can really experiment on my time. And then once I'm happy with something, then hand that over to the artist and they can just make it way better than me. But the point is I don't have to spend ages sketching expressions. I don't have to write long emails or have long endless meetings about what I want. I can just experiment and find that myself. And that's very liberating as a director. Same with hand gestures as well. All right, cool. So that's animated films. But how do we move from animated films to making video games simultaneously? And I did say simultaneously. Well, here's the thing. When we were making... Oops, I've gone too far here. There we go. When we were making the movie, we just had this incline to make a video game. A lot of the reason was because I wanted to do things in an interactive way, just to kind of test out like a car chase. I'm not going to animate the car suspensions, right? So we used car physics to experiment what that would be like, and then we'll animate that afterwards. So we did a game jam session one day. It was me, my head of CG, Andreas, Sam Rebello, our amazing artist and game designer. We put together a level, not this level, it was much more rough than this, but we realized we had a game, and most importantly, as a storyteller, I realized there's only so much you can put in a 90-minute feature film. There's so much more you can do in a multi-branch narrative like a video game. And because I came from the world of video games back in like my early career, this was a great full circle for me. So we started putting together this game, and the reason we're able to do this is because all of the assets, all of the work that we've done in the movie, which is close to 2 years or a year and a half, we're able to move that into the game. And then in the game, we just focus on the AI, the NPC animation or gameplay, mechanics, and just game design, and not worry about building the characters because we have those already. But most importantly, because our animated film is stylized, we didn't want to be waiting forever to move around a viewport in Unreal when making the movie. So we kind of built the assets and the scenes and the levels very much like a game, where it was optimized so that we're able to see stuff in real time. And because it's final pixels, we're actually capturing what we see on screen as EXRs. So that's what made the process moving into a video game much more smoother than it would have if we were to start from scratch. So yeah, so you can actually play that game on Steam, so I'm going to send you the link in a minute. But what happened was when we released it on Steam as early access demo, we also applied for the Microsoft Independent Developers Program. We're like, why not? Right? What's the worst that could happen? And guess what happened? The guys at Microsoft played the game, the early access demo. They loved it. They saw the pitch. They really loved the fact that it was a transmedia type project from film to game. And we got in. You know, we are part of the Idea Xbox program, which means we get great support from the Microsoft team. But we also have Xbox dev kits. I actually have one on my desk. Now, this is weird. For me, it's kind of special because I started my career in video games back in the day when I was doing like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. And getting dev kits as a studio was extremely hard and expensive. But now I've got one in my home as an indie developer. It's like mind-blowing. So I'm not allowed to take a photo of the dev kit because it breaks all the NDAs. But I did take a photo of what the top of the box looked like when I opened it. And I tweeted it, and Microsoft retweeted it. So I guess it's okay. So yeah, so we moved into video games very quickly. But we're still doing the same thing. We're still telling the story. The only thing is we've expanded the universe much, much bigger than we could possibly do in the movie. We're doing that in a video game. And there you go, you can QR scan that. That'll take you directly to the Steam store where you can download the game for free. It's an early access demo, so it is a bit buggy, so do expect some bugs. But you can play it and let me know what you think. And because of that fun that we had, we've expanded the studio much more now in terms of like more people and more resources. And now we are in production of 3 video games, one called Synchromania, which we're going to announce early next year. Rift, obviously I spoke about, and Mootopia, which is a VR game for the Meta headset, and so on. But how do we evolve the business of storytelling further than just animated films and video games? Yes, the metaverse. Last year, the rage was about virtual production. This year, it's the metaverse, Web3. Now, we didn't really set out to be in the Web3 space. In fact, didn't even cross our mind. We're busy enough making a video game and a movie at the same time, right? But this company, X-Mana, reached out to us and said, hey, we love your animation and the stuff that you do in your games. Would you be interested in creating a trailer to help us depict our metaverse? Because, we haven't really got anything to show at the moment, but we are making this and we want to tease it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And we did that. We put together this trailer here. So when they then came back and said, hey, we want to do 10 more of these videos. And at that point, I'm like, whoa, what are we doing? What are we making 10 of these videos for? Like, this is Web3. Shouldn't we be, like, showing what the actual thing looks like in terms of, like, physical immersiveness? Not Web2, which is pitch decks, videos, and images. And we then came to the conclusion, let's just prototype this. And the good thing was, we made that entire trailer you just saw, we made that all in Unreal. So again, same thing we did with Rift, where we moved the movie into a game. We did the same thing. We moved the trailer assets and the trailer world into a game, which is essentially what the Metaverse is, the big multiplayer game, right? And we started prototyping it. And this is what the prototype looks like. So let me just play that right quick. Oops, going too fast. Here we go. So we did a quick prototype based on like what the experiential experience would be like in the metaverse, in this particular metaverse, and we'll be able to go into like shopping malls. We'll be able to like buy stuff, buy real estate, and create galleries and all of this stuff. We actually prototype in a gamification way, where you can actually go in with a controller. Now, here's the thing, guys. What you're seeing there is captured from a pixel streaming session. You may notice that for those of you who know what pixel streaming is, because you'll see the two circles on each side, which is what you get when you're on an iPad. That's right. I was actually playing this Unreal Engine demo prototype on my iPad, streaming from Amazon Web Cloud, Amazon Web Server Cloud, which is running an instance of Unreal, streaming it back onto my iPad. Microsoft Game Pass do that as well for their games. So already it's such an interesting way to show a build or a demo or get people to actually play your demo via pixel streaming without them having to install expensive software or install graphics cards and so on. Like, if it wasn't for pixel streaming, I'll have to get the executives X Manor or the partners X Manor to install Unreal, and they're not going to do that, are they? So that's how we're able to do that. But let's take it further. How about user-generated content, right? How do we go from making movies to video games to metaverse Web3 content to user-generated content? And once again, we got approached by another company called Uppercut, and it's kind of cool, right, to be approached by these companies. And here's a little tip while I'm in the flow here. I get asked this a lot. Like, how are you getting these awesome projects, Haz? It's really simple. Show stuff every day. Just post stuff online. Announce to people what you're doing. Doesn't matter. What's the worst that could happen? In our case, the best thing that happened was people reached out to us because they saw our stuff. So this company called Uppercut, which is Uppercut is the project. Jump Cut is the company, which is backed by a VC company called Atomic. The guys over there reached out and said they had this great project called Uppercut Training Club, which is about martial arts and urban street martial arts, and based on a huge lore. It's a utility-driven NFT project, and when I heard the letters NFT, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what this is about. I have no idea about NFTs. We don't do crypto, blockchain, and so on. And they're like, no, we want to collaborate with you to help us design this world and design these characters. Kind of similar to what we did with the X-Mana team. But what was interesting about this NFT project was the output for the project. It was an animated series, a video game, 3D characters, avatars, utilities to allow the community to be involved. Here's an example of what we end up doing. So what we end up doing is, firstly, we didn't want to create NFTs that are 2D images like Bored Apes or these other 2D high-profile NFTs. We wanted to create a 3D NFT. Why? Because that's the world we're in. We're in the world of 3D. But also, I wanted to do a retro homage to games like Virtua Fighter or Killer Instinct or Tekken, the games that I spent a lot of time playing in arcades in my earlier years. And to be able to then mix that with high-fidelity lighting in Unreal, and to create something that's very stylized, very modular. But that's nothing new. That is stuff you've seen in video games for a long time. We've seen it in Fortnite. But what was new at the time that we were doing, which no one had done, was we built an engine inside of Unreal Engine that allowed us to generate various variations of these characters based on the modular components we built, based on a JSON spreadsheet that we created with the Jump Cut team, fed that into Unreal using data tables. Getting really nerdy now. And then we would just hit generate PFP, which is profile picture, or the full NFT, and 6,000 variations came out with the metadata attached to them, which we then send over to the Uppercut team for them to mint. We generated 6,000 images straight out of Unreal, which was amazing, and all in using the customization tool we built. So again, we'd never done that before, and a project like that really allowed us to step out of our comfort zone of like telling linear story to really head scratching moment to figure out this stuff. Now all the stuff we've built, we can utilize that in our video game. The community element of this project was what impressed me the most, though, was the fact that with this project I wasn't getting feedback from a committee of executives that thought they knew what the audience wants. In this case, I'm going directly to the audience. So they had a Discord group where all the audience are there, all the fans are there, and we're doing voting system, like a poll system. And like, what should the background be? Here's a bunch of versions. You pick one, guys. Give us some feedback. And it was a very new way of working. It's like making a movie in a sort of like crowdsource way where people give comments on your movies, which I don't think you can do because you'll be editing forever. But with something like this, where it's a digital asset we're building, and by the time we release it, there's a huge level of ownership. It's not me that owns this, it's part owned with the community. In fact, they can see that ownership and they're part of the storytelling. I mean, I'm just covering just the visuals here. There's a whole big thing involved with Uppercut where there's a whole lore to build, world building worlds, and all this other stuff is involved, which really helps create a community, but most importantly encourages and nurtures creativity from artists that not necessarily had access to working at a studio for whatever reasons. This allowed them to be part of something. We've got like thanks from people saying this was a special experience for them, and that's the point of this, and that's what really interests us as Hazimation, was to be involved in a community-driven project. Projects that expand into cinematics, like feature films. You see here, which is cool. It's the same characters we created. We're just able to expand that further. We even expanded that into a video game, which we're going to be looking to do hopefully next year. Again, using the same characters. Again, same thing we did with Rift, same thing we did with X-Mana. We repurpose and reutilize our assets. So, there you go, some more screenshots here. So in conclusion, since adopting real-time as a production approach, since 2019, my very first feature film summit, we're able to become a company that produces animated feature films and series, our own IP, by the way, game developers, again, our own IP, and create in the metaverse. But most importantly, and this is the thing that's very important as a company ethos, is we're creating for the future of content consumers. And this is all done in one sustainable production ecosystem known as Unreal Engine. So there you go. So there's no Q&A, unfortunately, on this, but you can always reach out to me, DM me, post something on my Instagram or Twitter. You can QR scan that and take you directly to my website where you can see stuff. But yeah, just keep creating, people, and just have fun. Don't be afraid of new technology. If I was that guy who was like, hey, I'm a director, I don't need to touch technology, I don't think I'd have a career where I am today. So thank you again. Thank you, Feature Film Summit. Enjoy the rest of the summit, guys, and see you on the next one.